Over the last year, relations between Canada and India hit absolute zero. The two nations publicly accused each other of extreme overreach, leading to diplomatic expulsions and a complete freeze in political communication. Yet beneath this political deep freeze, New Delhi and Ottawa moved forward with a 24,000 crore rupee uranium energy partnership and established a mutual target of $50 billion in bilateral trade. Evidence of this shift appeared inside a newly published threat assessment from the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, a document that provides the first clear justification for this sudden economic cooperation. The alignment of these massive trade goals with a new intelligence report indicates that Ottawa is recalibrating its security focus to accommodate its long-term financial interests. Digging into the declassified CSIS public report, the section dedicated to violent extremism directly names the Khalistani movement 7 distinct times. The intelligence agency goes a step further, officially coining a new acronym for this specific group, CBKE, which stands for Canada-based Khalistani extremists. This diagram outlines the first phase of the threat described by CSIS. It maps how extremist elements actively infiltrate legitimate Canadian community institutions to build influence. Then, these groups extort funds from unsuspecting members, diverting them overseas to finance violent activities, primarily in India. The Canadian government is officially acknowledging on paper that domestic infrastructure is being exploited as a financial pipeline for international terrorism. To ground this assessment, the CSIS document specifically ties the modern CBKE threat to the upcoming 40th anniversary of the Air India Flight 182 bombing, an attack that killed 329 people. For decades, prominent Canadian political figures refused to directly link the Flight 182 bombing to these separatist factions. Now, the state's own intelligence apparatus is explicitly naming the perpetrators, breaking a long history of political denial. However, the report inserts a critical legal caveat. It clearly states that advocating for an independent Khalistan state through peaceful, nonviolent political means does not meet the threshold for extremism in Canada. Drawing this hard boundary between protected free speech and violent action gives Canadian law enforcement the legal framework required to finally start prosecuting criminal factions. But this intelligence shift is by no means a total capitulation to New Delhi. Further down sits a substantial section on foreign interference. In this section, CSIS clusters India squarely alongside nations like China and Russia, identifying it as a state actively conducting espionage on Canadian soil. The report details sophisticated tactics, pointing specifically to China posting fake job advertisements to recruit vulnerable government employees and extract classified data. Alongside those espionage claims, the document firmly categorizes the 2023 assassination of separatist leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar as an act of lethal interference directed by Indian agents. Ottawa's official policy now treats New Delhi with a dual approach. India is simultaneously a vital economic partner and a hostile intelligence threat. The current trajectory between Ottawa and New Delhi demonstrates how geopolitical friction dissolves when it competes with a nation's long-term energy and trade requirements. Over the next decade, Canada's economic growth is increasingly reliant on accessing India's massive market for energy exports and industrial commodities. To secure those resources, India has a reciprocal demand. Canada must actively dismantle the violent CBKE networks, using its financial and community systems as a shield. So expect to see a two-track future. Intelligence agencies from both nations will quietly collaborate to target violent factions, while politicians publicly focus on highly visible, multi-billion-dollar trade agreements. The diplomatic freeze is thawing out of mutual necessity. The open hostility of the past year is being replaced by a highly profitable yet deeply suspicious era of cooperation.